Hi, everybody. We have the privilege today of talking to Michael Smith about his forthcoming book, Bob Dylan in Film. Yeah.
Hi, Kate. Good to see you.
Hi,
Thanks,
how are you?
thanks everybody for watching. I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good, 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 good. I'm excited to hear about your book.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you about it in particular because this is literally the first interview that I'm doing about it. And I think you're an appropriate person for me to be talking to because we saw Masked and Anonymous together
We did.
23 years ago, almost to the day.
I know. That's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. Park City, Utah. And I don't know if you know, but the Slam Dance Film Festival is happening right now in Park City for the last time.
Yeah, I know that they were gonna
They're,
move it.
they're moving. So I kind of feel like we should be there, just for old time's sake.
They should have shown Masked and Anonymous again. I would have been.
Maybe for the 25th anniversary, they will.
Yeah, maybe Bob will come back again in a special.
Hopefully with the blonde wig.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we did see it there together. It was kind of a crazy, I don't know, plan. You couldn't
Yeah,
wait. I couldn't wait. Our friends couldn't wait. So,
right. He was between tours.
yeah.
And so we just thought, let's go see the movie. And little did we know that he would be there for the first screening, and we saw the third and final screening. If we had thought about it, it's obvious he would have only been at the first one since that's technically the world premiere.
Yeah. I don't know if
Uh,
we would have been able to get into that. Would we have? Can just
that
regular.
prob that would have been a harder ticket to get, but I think the reason we got tickets for the third night, I think it had to do with the date that it fell on. Like I think maybe it was on a weekend and the other two weren't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't remember there being a lot of people around there when we went
Well,
up there.
it was freezing cold. I remember that. And
Yes,
the streets of it was like brutally cold to be outside. So Park
much
City was
like
full.
today.
Yes, exactly.
A good
So
day
I
to talk
remember
about
this, yeah, the streets being very empty.
it. Yeah.
But that was a really memorable screening because when Masked and Anonymous opened in theaters like 6 months later, it was not the same version. Larry Charles recut the film, and I think he cut about 7 minutes out of it. And so we are two of the very few people in the world who saw a different version than what everyone has seen ever since. And to be honest with you, that's one of the reasons why I thought, damn, I should write this book
Yeah,
because I was there for that. We talked to Larry Charles after the screening, got our
we
photo
did.
taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was like all your idea to set up that trip.
I'm sure that it was too, but I don't really remember. I mean, there was a group of us who kind of descended on Park City from different parts of the country.
I felt like I was just along for the ride on that trip, that it was all planned out. And then our friend was like, "Do you want to come along?" And I was like, "Absolutely." But everything was already set up. And I was like, "Sweet." But
Yeah.
I remember I had somehow, and I'm sure you have a copy too of the script of the film.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Did you
That was
reread that a lot for while you were writing your book?
I did. Yeah, and it was helpful because the script is a lot longer and more elaborate, and I think some of it they just didn't shoot, but then some of it they shot and then cut out. But the script is fascinating because it's so Bob, it operates according to the same principles as his songwriting does and as Chronicles does, and he was kind of doing all those things at the same time. In the early 21st century, that was like a very productive time for him.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was thinking, about how much Bob plays with his own legacy in the movie, like how much he addresses things about like when he says, I already did come back, Are you ever coming back? I already did come back. That kind of thing. Just, different aspects like that. And I don't know. Why don't you talk a little bit
Well,
more about what
oh,
you
no, no, you're right on the money. I mean, that's kind of what's I think fascinating about the film as a fan. He's telling us about himself
Mhm.
in a way that I think he doesn't even do in his songs.
Yeah.
Jack, the character of Jack Fate, is basically like a bizarro world version of Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, he's referencing his own mythology by saying, "I already came back," and then the way the other characters talk about him too.
Yeah.
Like when Jessica Lange says, "Are his songs going to be recognizable?" you
Right.
know, it's
Yeah.
like anything he's ever been criticized for. It's like he's completely unafraid of throwing that into the film and
Right.
saying, "Yeah, this is how people see me."
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking too, there was a part in the movie where he says, I ain't felt free in a long time. And
Yeah,
I'm thinking about when Caroline and I were talking to him, and he said he was talking about how he doesn't get the opportunity to talk to people about what he does. And he said, they keep me in a cage. They let me out to play my shows and they put me back in my cage. So I don't get a lot of chance to talk to people. And we were like, oh, okay. Well, I see. So a little bit of
they keep me in a cage.
they.
Yeah,
Not sure who that is, but whoever.
yeah. So he feels like he's in prison in a way. Like he like Bob Dylan is in a metaphorical prison, and Jack Fate is in a
Exactly.
literal prison.
Yes.
Yeah,
But he comes out and then, you know, when they're talking about our song's going to be recognizable, and then they're like, you got to play Jailhouse Rock or whatever. And he was like,
yeah,
it's very, very reflective of, Bob not being willing to give in to the expectations people have of him.
right,
One of the
right,
things that he hasn't said much about publicly, as far as I can think of, but that he's been very steadfast and, being himself and doing what he wants to do, which is
right.
the
And
greatest
just
thing
playing.
about him. Is in my opinion, it's like you never know what's coming next.
Well, you and I feel that way because we've seen many, many shows, and I think those of us who go to a lot of concerts, we want him to do what he wants to do. And so, yeah, in the movie, it's hilarious when Uncle Sweetheart is like, here's the songs that they want you to play. It's like literally a list of songs. And then he does not do that.
Yeah,
He opens with Cold Iron's Bound, and then they throw him back in jail. But that's, even today, people leave every Dylan show disappointed or some portion of the audience is always disappointed that he's not doing what they want him to do.
right. Well, I guess that probably happens with a lot of people. Although I never really got that. I don't go see a lot of concerts of people that I don't know, but when I do, I don't listen to their greatest hits and expect them to play all of them. I just am kind of there for the ride to see what they feel like doing, which
I agree. Well, that's because you're smart.
I don't know if it's smart, it's just a technique on how to deal with stuff. But anyway,
Yes.
back to Masked and Anonymous. Who's your favorite character in Masked and Anonymous?
Well, that's a good question because my sort of knee jerk reaction is to say Jack Fate, but it's got a pretty impressive ensemble cast, and I think there are a lot of really juicy performances in it. And I think John Goodman is so much fun to watch in the film because he's so. I don't think he's over the top. He's playing a larger than life character. And so it's like he's just relishing all of his line readings, and playing this kind of sleazy manager who I think is clearly based on Albert Grossman.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
but just not only the way he talks, but the like sort of gestures he makes, like when he talks about how they're going to be raking in the money, and he looks like he's milking a cow.
Yeah.
Just great. It's a great cast, and I think John Goodman's hilarious. What about you?
Man, that's a tough one. It's just, I was reading an article and they were saying that when they were casting people, Luke Wilson wasn't the first choice for Tom Friend. It was Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
And I was kind of thinking, oh man, I like I like that character, but something I don't know, something was just like a little bit off about it to me. And I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, if Johnny Depp was Tom Friend, then that would have been interesting.
I think you mean Bobby Cupid.
I do mean Bobby Cupid. Sorry. It
Tom
was like having
Friend.
to look back at the names of the characters because I was like, what are the names of all the characters? Anyway,
Yeah, no, I can totally see why they would have thought of Johnny Depp first. I think he had to go do a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, so he dropped out. Also, Jack Nicholson was supposed to play Uncle Sweetheart,
I think
which
that they did the right move on that one.
with Goodman.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. But it's interesting because Bob and Jack do go way back.
Yeah. Yes.
So it would have worked, but it would have worked in I think in a different way.
I think that that character would have been a lot more in your face evil.
Yeah, yeah,
John Goodman's like kind of like bumbling, you kind
totally.
of feel bad for him because you're like, oh man, you're just kind of a fool. You can't
Yeah,
get it together. But
yeah, he's kind of buffoonish.
yeah,
And also, I think John Goodman is always kind of lovable in some way,
right.
whereas Nicholson, yeah, brings a more sinister energy.
Yeah.
How did you feel watching it recently, seeing the musical performances?
I mean those musical performances were killer in all of them.
Yeah, fantastic.
I was watching kind of what the crowd reactions were a lot this time when I was watching it. Like when he plays Dixie, everyone is just kind of like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
stoic.
Whereas when they play, down in the flood,
Yeah.
yeah, people are grooving.
And they say everything is really scripted, like it's scripted. That movie is scripted, scripted, scripted. There's nothing off the cuff going on.
Right. In terms of the dialogue.
Well, I
But
think
I
even in terms of like the acting and stuff too. Like,
right, but not in terms of the musical performances.
no, no, no. But like
Because
the
Dixie
responses
was
of the audience to the music.
oh, right, right. Everyone was directed
Yes.
to react the way that they were. So
You're
what do
the
you think?
director. Maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't be assuming that. I should be asking you about it.
Yeah,
How do you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
about that?
Well, that was one of the questions I actually asked Larry Charles about how he directed the actors during the Q&A, from the audience, because it seemed to me that he clearly directed the cast to kind of um, to just perform in a exuberant way. I mean, they're all kind of cartoonish, except for Bob.
Mhm.
So, and I remember he appreciated hearing that because he said that was sort of his strategy as a director was to have Bob be completely deadpan,
Mhm.
and he kind of trusted that Bob's face is just so interesting to look at,
Mhm.
that we are going to read into it whatever we want to read into it. And so having Bob be completely stone faced was brilliant because it's like all these characters around him who are talking nonstop. They're projecting on to Bob as well.
Mhm.
Um, So I thought that was a brilliant strategy on Larry Charles's part. And I also think, he comes out of the sitcom world. I mean, he had never directed a movie before, but he went on to do Borat and a whole lot of other interesting films. And so I think he understands comedy very well, and I think the film works on the level of comedy. Parts of it are, dark and kind of disturbing, but it's also, pretty funny throughout, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty funny movie.
You
A lot
know,
of
it's like
There's a lot
it's
of hidden stuff going on in the movie too. That
there's a lot going on. I mean, I think Larry Charles has called it a sci-fi film noir musical spaghetti western. So they're kind of just like taking all these things they love and sort of throwing them into a blender.
I
And
love that Bob was deep into his cowboy period then, which
Right,
one of my favorite Bob periods with the silky
totally.
suits.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about that because you and I were going to a lot of shows at the time. And in a lot of ways, the musical performances in the film are similar to what we were seeing live. And you're right, like the cowboy look, he wore a cowboy hat all of the time.
Yeah,
It's like it was either no hat or it was a full on cowboy hat.
yeah.
And now he wears other kinds of hats.
Yes. He's gone through many hat phases since then.
But I want to talk to you about that band because I know that that was a very special era. You and I loved that band. We saw so many shows. I think was your first show a Charlie show, or did you see any before '99?
Yes. My first show was 97, but then not
Okay,
again until 99.
so
And
your first show, you saw the Larry Bucky combo.
yes, but then
Yeah.
not again. I didn't see him again until 99 after that.
Right. And then basically what happened was Bucky left, and then Larry, who had been the guitarist, became the multi-instrumentalist, and then Charlie became the lead guitarist.
Yes.
And Larry Charles has said that one of the reasons why Bob wanted to make the film was because he loved that band so much, and he wanted to preserve them
Yeah.
on film. And of course, that raises the question of, well, why not just make a concert movie, Bob? But
Well,
he
that
never,
kind of goes
again,
against things that believes in, I guess.
yeah. I mean, he again, it's another example of him not doing things the way we expect him to. But I think those musical performances are just great, and they capture the chemistry between those players. Like during those acoustic songs, Dixie and I'll Remember You and Diamond Joe. It's so funny the way that it's staged. I was noticing when I was watching it earlier that Bob is like sitting on a stool
Mhm.
that's like a normal height. And then next to him, Charlie is sitting on this tiny stool. So he's below Bob and he's looking up at him. And he's looking at him with this almost puppy dog, expression.
Yeah.
And that captures, and he's smiling. Bob has no expression. Bob is singing Dixie beautifully, but he's got the squint, no expression, and Charlie just can't help but break into a grin several times during the performance. And there's something about the way he's looking up at Bob. It like they had a father-son kind of dynamic, and just the way that was staged, I thought captured that really well.
Yeah. I mean, I can think of a few times that Charlie would look at Bob like that at real shows. And I mean, the fondness that he had for Bob really came through in that. And I kind of wondered, like with their costuming, at a real Bob show, everybody's wearing their special outfits and they kind of all got to just wear civilian clothes,
Right,
which
right.
I found a little bit interesting. I mean, I know they're supposedly the Jack Fate cover band in the movie,
Yeah,
but
simple twist of fate.
it's simple. Yeah.
Which is hilarious because I guess that explains why they know all of his songs.
Right.
He gets out of prison and he just has a band that can play anything he wants to play.
I wonder, I think of the character of Jack Fate and I'm like, what are his songs? Are his songs Bob Dylan songs or are his songs other songs? And is Jack Fate, I mean, he's playing Dixie and he's playing I'll Remember You, and he's playing, Diamond Joe. Not the
Mhm.
Diamond Joe that he recorded for an album, different version
Right.
of Joe.
Different Diamond Joe.
So I'm like, okay, is he really Bob Dylan? Is he Jack Fate? Is he something in between? I don't
It's
know.
well in my book, I talk about how one of his favorite movies is La Dolce Vita by Federico Fellini, and he writes about seeing that for the first time in Chronicles, and he says that what he loved about it was that it presented life in a carnival mirror. And
Okay.
I think that is a really brilliant phrase that actually describes all of Bob Dylan's movies. You
Yeah.
know, I think Dylan is saying like, here's the world as I see it,
Hmm.
not the way it really is, but this is the world and my life
Hmm.
reflected in a funhouse mirror.
Yeah.
So it's like
He says that
like
when he
I'm
does
gonna
his monologue about, you know, the monologue about seeing the world from a higher plane and all
yes,
that.
yeah, yeah, climb up to a higher plateau, you'll
Yeah.
see plunder and murder. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's all about perspective, right?
Right.
Everything is relative.
What about the movies that he references in the movie? I wrote a couple or get referenced in the movie.
Well, I
Invisible
think that
Man, Claude Rains and the
oh
Invisible
yeah, of course, which he would go on to reference in Murder Most Foul.
Man. Okay.
See if you can shoot the Invisible Man.
What about Uncle Meat? The Zappa. They talked about Zappa.
Right. Which I've never seen, but it sounds kind of like Ronaldo and Clara,
Yeah,
right? It's
well,
like
that's
this.
they kind of talk about that. I mean, he's saying like, "Oh, what about this 8 hour long movie?"
Yes,
And it's immediately I'm thinking like, "Oh, like Ronaldo and Clara." Okay, so
exactly.
he's kind of like putting himself next to Zappa a little bit in that aspect, sort of
Yep.
hinting that he's in his writing of the movie. I don't know. It's kind of complicated to talk about
Yeah.
the person that he is. Is there any other movies that he references in?
Uh, yeah, a big one is the fugitive kind. The character of Bobby Cupid, like the whole look of that character is based on the Marlon Brando character in the
All
fugitive
right.
kind, like the snakeskin jacket, and even his name in the fugitive kind is Valentine
Okay.
Xavier. So
All right.
Cupid sounds like Valentine. Well, he's kind of a cross between Marlon Brando and Bobby Newworth. You
Okay.
know,
All right.
yeah.
People
So
are going to
you've
learn
got
so much when they read your book.
so Sweetheart is Albert Grossman, Bobby Cupid is Bobby Newirth, crossed with Marlon Brando, and I think Angela Bassett could be any number of ex girlfriends
Sure.
who at one point may have also been backup singers.
May have also been. Maybe. We don't know.
We don't
We're
know.
not going to say.
But you're right. It's like it's hard to talk about it's hard to talk about who Dylan is
Yeah.
because we don't know him. We don't know him. We know his art. That's what we love. But at the same time, he does sort of tease us. You
Mhm.
know, it's like he dares us to interpret his work
He
um,
does. And then
along
he
autobiographical
says, "You're
lines.
wrong. Why would you do that?"
Exactly. Yeah. And then he gets mad that
Yeah.
we're analyzing his stuff. But that's just
I guess he gets that privilege.
yeah. It's kind of like an elaborate game, I think,
Yeah.
uh, that he plays with his fans.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. We're still here. We're into it. We like his silly games, I guess.
Even after all these decades. Well,
Oh,
it's like it's also, it's like he doesn't want to be analyzed. And of
well,
course
who does?
that's gonna he also knows that's gonna make people want to do it. He you know
Yeah.
he
I don't know. Do people analyze like Paul McCartney? I mean, I guess they did in the Beatles. Like, do they analyze what all of his newer songs
no
mean? Yeah.
no no
I mean, it's never ending with Bob. You can't just feel like I'm writing the song and people are like, it's just a song and then they let it go. Never is that way.
never.
So, but I guess I don't know.
Well, now and he's posting all these cryptic things on Instagram, which again, it's almost like people just have a feeding frenzy every time he posts something on social media.
I
What
have
is it?
I have a giggle every time you post something on social media. Typically,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was looking at the latest movie that he posted something from today or yesterday. What movie was it? I
Was
looked it
it
up.
the secret life of Walter Mitty?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I might watch that one later.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to come to you for more old movie recommendations.
Yeah, you should. Well, I teach film history for a living, so
All right, I should
I'm
take a
I'm
class.
I'm full of them.
I really did like taking film or going with people to film class. But anyway, that's here nor there. You can give me more movie recommendations. Back to the movie. So I was thinking, I was trying to look for other stuff in the movie that maybe I didn't notice before. And one thing that stood out to me was when, what's his name? Benicio del Toro, who's taking over. What's his name in the movie?
The
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 new dictator that's after
oh,
Bob's dad dies,
you
and
mean
or no,
oh, Mickey Rourke's
yeah, Mickey
character.
Rourke, yeah,
His character is named Edmund.
Edmund. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, Edmund, and they're talking about how Jack Fate is gonna come play, and he says, "Well, at least it's not some banjo player." And then later in the
Mm,
movie, you see Jack Fate talking to Oscar Vogel, who
yes.
his dad was a huge fan of, and how he opened his mouth and that was the end for him. And I thought that was kind of an interesting way to show how different Edmund's character is than the father character that's
Mm,
dying, and how you can't really trust things to go like they should necessarily, if
right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like this guy is putting himself into place and showing kind of like how horrible he is while he's also saying to the crowd, the president was such and such and such, and we have to keep moving forward with his ideals kind of
Right.
into the movie. But he's like a real piece of shit, actually, and doesn't have anything to do with what the guy that he's taking over for believed in.
E- Exactly. I mean, we can't talk about that aspect of the film without talking about the current presidential administration, because one of the things that's interesting about Masked and Anonymous, this film was a bomb when it came out. I mean, the reviews were horrible. It, I think, grossed less than $1 million. It didn't really do well at the box office, but I think it looks more interesting today because of its depiction of America as a kind of, totalitarian police state, which is also in the middle of a civil war. And I think, you know, I noticed when I was doing research into the critical reception of the film, it came out on Blu-ray in the year 2020.
Mhm.
A company called Shout Factory put out a new Blu-ray with new special features, including a new interview with Larry Charles, and it got reviewed by a lot of movie critics, and a lot of them said, when it came out in 2003, it seemed far-fetched. It was just confusing. Like, what is this film like? Why is it taking place in a dystopian future where America is a police state? Um,
Was Bob
it
seeing
did.
the future? Was he predicting the future?
He was prescient because in 2020, after Trump got elected, um, it does feel more like we're living in that reality.
Yeah.
In fact, I was at the World of Bob Dylan conference last summer, and I actually talked to Lee Ronaldo, the guitarist for Sonic Youth, because
Mhm.
he was like the head of the house band, and he told me he loved Mass and Anonymous, and he goes, "Yeah, I just rewatched it." He goes, "It gets better every time," and I go, "Yeah, that's because we're living in it now."
Yeah. It gets more relatable every time,
it,
anyway,
it it
in
does,
a
and I think
not positive way.
right. I mean, I think even watching it now, with there's like militarized police in the film carrying machine guns in public. That seemed like science fiction at the time, and now it doesn't look like it does look like the world we're living in.
Well, the scene with Giovanni Ribisi, I'm sure that's who I'm talking about. Obviously, I
Yes,
don't
yes,
know
in
actors'
the
names
bus,
very well. And
the
he's
classic.
telling, he goes outside, they got a person out there, they're like messing him up. He goes outside, he tries to stand up for it and he gets shot. Like, okay, well, I mean, did that's just not happen yesterday again
Right.
in
It
real
looks
life?
like what we see on the news. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
And I don't
tough
think
watch. It was a tough rewatch. I felt really, I was pretty upset watching it. I was like, this is,
right,
you know,
right.
and it wasn't really, life wasn't like that in 2003. We were pretty, I mean, things are always, there's always problems going on, but
Yeah.
in general, the feeling was a lot more free and easy.
Right. And I think maybe that's what allowed Bob to be kind of pessimistic in the film, is that the fact that life wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I don't know, if he were to make a movie, I think it would be different.
Yeah. Well, I want him to make another movie so I can tell what's going to happen next later. Hopefully, it's going to be something good, like
Yeah.
20 years or something.
How do you rate Bob as an actor?
I think he has his moments of
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah.
He seemed to me I would rate him as a nervous actor. I don't know.
Right. Right.
Which is how I would rate Bob as a human. So,
As a human.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't think it's any different.
no, I agree with you. It's like he's not a very natural actor, but he doesn't do anything in a way that feels natural.
Right.
In real life. There's this.
There was a scene on the bus, back to that scene, where they're like riding the bus and he's like really like going like this.
Rocking.
And the people in the front of the bus, some of them are kind of rocking around, but all the people like panning up to that scene are just like totally still. But he's like he's on some kind of like boat, and I'm like, oh, it really bothers me that was like that. I don't know.
Right, right. Um, or just like the way he closes the door in the
Yeah.
hotel room.
Yeah.
Everything is just kind of stiff and kind of awkward.
Well, it's kind of like Chaplin-esque, sort of like overacting to
Yes,
make it
yeah,
be less serious in a way.
right, right, right.
Or maybe that's not right. I got to take your class so I can. find out what that really is.
I
How are you using that as a device when you're
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's probably my favorite performance of his, because I think he had more control over what he was doing.
yeah,
Whereas, I think in like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid and Hearts of Fire, um, he was being directed, and he was trying to do what he thought someone else wanted him to do. With Masked and Anonymous, he wrote it
yeah.
with Larry Charles, and uh, all of those just strange things he does, like the way he sits in the chair.
Yeah. That is such a weird, we were laughing so hard. I took a picture on my phone because we were watching it in kind of cinema format.
Yeah.
Also, which makes him look so teeny tiny in the chair, and John
Yes.
Goodman is so huge. He looks gigantic. And I was like, man, Bob looks like he's like 3 feet tall or something, the way this
Right.
is like angled into here. But I don't
And
know.
he doesn't look, comfortable in that position.
No,
Um, but it's like
he looks
that's,
very feminine in that position to me.
yeah, but
He's like
there's
looking at his
still,
nails and,
right, right, right.
hanging out
He's
there.
not, yeah. Or like when he first walks into the bar, when he meets Uncle Sweetheart, and he's got his thumbs kind of tucked into the waistband of his pants.
Well, he was
Uh,
being a cowboy. He was in cowboy mode.
he was being in cowboy mode, and also, probably felt insecure about what to do with his hands.
Right. Yeah. I think that that is all true. And I think that Bob is very, he's like kind of a shy guy. So he probably felt very insecure around a bunch of people that he didn't know
Right.
necessarily.
Who are professional actors, and
Right.
who are much more familiar with the process than he is.
What do you think about the casting overall? Like, there were so many famous people in the movie. Do you think that that was because he didn't want to be around people that he didn't know of or didn't feel like they knew enough about making a movie? Because there's not,
Um,
a lot of movies have people in them that are not famous yet. Maybe they're going to be famous later, maybe they won't ever be famous. But there wasn't a
right.
whole lot of that going on in that movie, aside
Oh
from,
yeah. The cast is stacked. I mean, you're right. Even the smallest roles are played by, like Christian Slater and Sean Penn are the stagehands.
right.
So yeah, it was like they were trying to get the most famous person they could for every role, even if it's one scene. Larry Charles has spoken about that. He said that they needed those people in order to be able to raise the money.
Yeah.
Because it was an independently financed film, and I think a lot of the money came from Russia. I think when it comes to film production, to quote Jim Jarmusch, he said all corporate money is dirty money.
Yeah.
Um, and I think they were under pressure to kind of deliver an all-star cast, in order to kind of um, try and prove to their investors they would be able to deliver a return. But I think Dylan does love, I think he loves actors.
Mhm.
I think he's always loved cinema. And I think I've been to, Hibbing, and I've seen the Sunrise Deli, which when he was a kid was the Liba Theater that his uncles owned.
Yeah.
And so he went to the movies for free as a kid, and his first idols were James Dean and Marlon Brando before he ever heard Little Richard or Elvis Presley. And so um, I think Dylan kind of, wants to be a movie star. I mean,
He's very much an actor. I mean,
he, yeah, I mean, all musical performers kind of are actors, right? Because they're performing
yeah,
all of the time. But Dylan really seems to love movies, and I think it was probably thrilling for him to be around those actors and to watch them work. Larry Charles has actually told stories about how, like, in a scene with John Goodman and Jessica Lange, Dylan would just be mesmerized watching them, and then he would forget to say his lines because he was having so much fun watching the two of them.
Yeah. Well, he's always inhabiting a character. Or,
Yeah, even in Don't Look Back.
well, he was, in that time he was in his cowboy phase, and then he kind of was like a Spanish bolero, and that, he
Right, right,
goes
right,
through his different looks through time. He was a grunge
right,
rocker for a while, and I mean, I think
right.
he really respects the idea of characters and being able to change who you are and design who you are, and
Oh,
have to keep
absolutely.
staying the same person. So I can imagine that he would love watching actors and seeing how they do their thing, probably
Yeah,
taking notes on what he can do next.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie. I'm glad it came out. Why don't you talk a little bit more about Bob's other movies?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, in the premise of my book is that basically Bob Dylan is a filmmaker, in addition to all of the other things that he's done. And yet, it's funny because so many people don't think of Bob Dylan as being a filmmaker. They think of him as obviously primarily being a musician, but if you like read a biography of Dylan online, if you read his Wikipedia entry, there is a subsection devoted to his painting. There's a subsection devoted to his sculpting, and yet there's nothing about filmmaking, which seems crazy to me because prior to Masked and Anonymous, he directed two films. He directed Eat the Document, which he shot in 1966. It's kind of like a sequel to Don't Look Back in a way, but it's in color and with the band. And then that wasn't officially released until 1972 because he made it for ABC television. And the conventional wisdom is that ABC thought that it was too strange to broadcast. And then, Ronaldo and Clara came out in 1978. He shot that in 75, and that's a 4 hour film that he directed about the Rolling Thunder tour. And, it's a very strange kind of hybrid film of, it's like a documentary of the Rolling Thunder tour, but it has fictional scenes where
Mhm.
the people on the tour are playing characters and acting out scenes that are improvised. It's a very ambitious film, but in a lot of ways, it's similar to Masked and
I
Anonymous.
was gonna say it's
You know,
very kind of based around the same
idea.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're looking at Bob Dylan and he's singing Bob Dylan songs, but he's also being referred to as a character named Ronaldo. So
Right.
again, he's playing hide and seek,
Yeah.
with his audience. He's saying, "This is me, but it's not really me." And through the act of putting on this mask, I'm gonna, I the mask allows me to tell you who I am.
Hmm.
You know, many years later in the Scorsese documentary Rolling Thunder Review, Dylan says, when someone's wearing a mask, they're going to tell you the truth. Uh,
Yeah.
when they're not wearing a mask, it's highly unlikely. So the whole concept of wearing a mask, playing a character, it sort of like allows him to comment on himself in a
Right.
way that I don't think he would do in a song. You know,
Yeah.
uh, there was a great interview with Penn Jillette. Billy Corgan interviewed Penn Jillette, and they talked about Bob Dylan. I don't know if you saw this; it was on Expecting Rain a few days
Hmm.
ago. But Penn Jillette made this really interesting point where he was kind of comparing Dylan and Joni Mitchell, and he said, Joni Mitchell's songs are autobiographical. Like her songs are like diary entries where you can
Hmm.
tell she's writing the song about this person, and she does everything but name who they are. And then he says Dylan writes from the heart without writing about himself.
Hmm.
And I think that's true.
Hmm.
Dylan's writing personally, but not autobiographically.
Yeah. Well,
And
observationally, maybe more.
observation. Yeah, 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 yeah. And that's one of the things that I think makes his songs universal, right? It's like they feel like we feel like they speak to us on a very deep level. Um, we feel like he's singing about us, you know. Uh, but yeah, I think in the movies, playing a character like Ronaldo or Jack Fate allows him to be more autobiographical, you know, and then casting his own wife, Sarah Dillon, as a woman named Clara, and then having them act out scenes with Joan Baez where it's like a love triangle. I mean, it's outrageous.
Yeah, it's
Really?
pretty. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that in Sarah's position, but
Yeah,
good for her to be open to the idea, I guess.
exactly. Um,
What's the thing
and
that
I think,
what's the line in the Master Anonymous? Human beings alone with their secrets, masked and anonymous. Isn't that how that line goes? Isn't that
yeah,
with Val Kilmer?
yes, where he's talking about how animals are kind of superior.
And how being a human is like torture and
Yes.
sucks. Being an animal is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think Bob agrees with that?
Probably. I don't
Yeah,
think, I don't know. I'm gonna get analytical, I guess. I'm not sure Bob really likes being a human necessarily. I mean, I think he would rather be like, somebody's dog hanging out and just kind of looking around and being able to do his thing more than he likes
right.
having to address everything in life. Don't quote me on that though. He didn't tell me that, but
Right. Right.
I kind of get the feeling that he gets tired of participating in humanity at times.
Right. But, I mean, wouldn't all of us if we were in his shoes?
Oh yeah, I would have retired a long time ago.
I think there's something about Dylan where people have expectations of him, and yeah, it's got to be hard to feel like uh, knowing that other people expect so much from you.
Of
But
course.
I think he's learned to kind of deal with it over time. I think
Well,
he's
you
kind
have
of,
to learn to deal with it or you have to just go away, right? You can't.
yeah. But he's out there still touring 80 plus shows a year. Uh,
I wouldn't want to be at one of I don't remember what show it was at last spring where some woman was just going ballistic and she was wanted to hear, I think, like a Rolling Stone, maybe. And she was yelling, 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 and then she started into the F you, like in a quiet theater, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
like
yeah,
I don't know if I would have it in me to take that like he does and just feel like whatever and continue on and ignore it. I mean,
right.
that takes a lot of grit, I guess.
Yeah, and that kind of response is not uncommon. I mean, that kind of thing where someone will just yell something out,
Yeah,
uh, and he can hear it, I think that's insane.
yeah. But people definitely have those expectations of him. I don't know. It's strange. I don't know. Do you ever feel like you had at any time expectations of what you wanted him to do when you were an early fan? Did you go to your first show and you're like, I want him to play, or I think he's gonna do?
Well, I mean, I was 14 when I saw my first show. So I think I didn't know enough about what a concert was supposed to be. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think I saw my first show in a state of innocence
Yeah.
that
Me too. Me too.
I'm really grateful for because I didn't know, this was also before the internet. I saw my first show in 1989 and I didn't, I wasn't even aware of what the critical consensus was about what his best albums were supposed to be, what the best songs were supposed to be. I would literally go to a record store and see what they had, and then I would buy often, you know, albums randomly,
Yeah.
or because they were inexpensive. You know, I bought Shot of Love on
Right.
vinyl, you
Yeah.
know, because it was cheap.
When I was growing up, we only had Planet Waves.
Wow.
So that was the only,
Because your
before I
parents,
started listening to stuff more, which I don't know, I had about 2 weeks of listening in before I went to go see
yeah.
it live. So I
So
didn't,
more like a virgin experience. Like
yeah.
you, yeah. And was Planet Waves your parents' copy?
Yeah, it was my dad's.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so I don't know. I think I'm glad I discovered Dylan when I did. I mean, I think it's been a lifelong, you know, experience listening to his music, and my relationship with it has changed over time and deepened over time. And you know, we're very, very lucky, those of us who have been fans since the 20th century, because I mean, there was no guarantee that this was going to still be going on.
Well, you know, I think me, as even Caroline has said also, and her first show was in 81, I think. When
81.
she realized that she could go see him, and it was the same thing for me, I was like, shit, I gotta go see him right now. Because I'm thinking, like, Jimi Hendrix is dead, and this is dead, you know, they're dead, and this, I gotta go right now, because who knows what's gonna happen. And now it's this many years later. And I'm like, oh, I'm still gonna go.
That's
Great.
right.
This is perfect.
Yeah, it's wonderful. But you know, think back to the early 21st century, back when Masculine Anonymous came out. I mean, we looked at Dylan as being old then. You
Mhm.
know, we were like, oh, he's 60, you know, 1 years old. He's an old man. And now when you watch Masculine Anonymous, you're like, oh, he's so young and spry.
And I'm like, 61, that's young.
that's
Man.
that's right around the corner.
I know. Shit. All right.
Um,
Well, let's, yeah, I don't know. Do you think he's gonna make any more movies?
Um, I I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, I consider Shadow Kingdom to be a movie that he is the co-author of.
Yeah.
You know, that's I you know the basically the premise of my book. We should probably talk a little bit about
Yes,
that.
we should talk about that.
But um, for me, one of the real kind of light bulb moments that I had that inspired me to start writing it was I saw this interview he did with Martha Quinn on MTV in 1984. Have you seen it?
I don't know. It doesn't sound familiar to me,
It's,
but
it's great. He's backstage at Wembley Stadium. So summer 84, he's got the zebra print shirt on, he's got the eyeliner on, you know, and Martha Quinn was in her 20s. She was like this, you know, very popular young VJ at the
Mhm.
time. And it's a really good interview because he clearly feels at ease talking to her.
Mhm.
Um, and I think a lot of it is she talks to him about the fact that his first employer in Greenwich Village was a guy named Manny Roth, who is the uncle of David Lee Roth, the lead singer for Van Halen. And so, like,
Oh, I didn't
yeah,
know that. Okay.
yeah. Manny Roth was like the owner of the Cafe Wa.
Hmm.
So when she says that, you know, that kind of impresses him, and then he just kind of opens up. And anyway, the thing that he said that really blew my mind was she asks him, she goes, "Have you ever considered directing any videos for your songs?" Because they're talking about MTV, and he says, he goes, "No, I don't want to. I don't want to." Take the time to have to tell everyone what to do. He goes, it's too much, takes too much energy. And he goes, you know, we did that whole movie Ronaldo and Clara, and that's enough for me, you know. And I thought, oh my God, he's saying that the act of directing is too difficult for him.
Uh-huh.
And I that for me was really interesting because I thought he directed 2 films,
Mhm.
and then I don't think he wanted to do it anymore after Ronaldo and Clara, partly because the reviews were so bad, but partly I think he found it kind of painful to
Yeah.
have to tell people what to do. And then I thought about all of the interviews with the musicians who played with Dylan over the decades.
Mhm.
If you read Ray Padgett's great book,
Mhm.
Pledging My Time, where he interviewed everybody, including Larry Campbell, Freddie Coella, everybody, Duke Robillard. And, the thing that everybody says is Bob never gives explicit direction about what to play. Even Jerry Pentecost, I don't know if you saw
Gonna
that,
say, yeah, I did watch that.
which was great. Jerry said he asked Bob, "What should I play?" And he's, by the way, talking about the year 2023, very recent past.
Right.
And Bob goes, "Don't ask me. I don't know what the fuck you should play, but I'll know it when I hear it."
Yeah.
so,
Yes. And I think
so
that goes back to this great band that's in Masked and Anonymous. And like, he wasn't telling anybody what to do.
no,
Everybody knew what they were doing and when to do it. And they had
right,
eyes on each other and they had eyes on him, and everything was
right.
like smooth.
Totally. I mean, Charlie was like the Charlie Bob relationship was also, I think, kind of telepathic,
Mhm.
or it seemed that way because Charlie played solos. People in the new band, they don't play solos. They do kind of instrumental passages every once in a while, but Charlie, would kind of step up,
Yeah.
play a play a short guitar solo, and then
Right.
pull back. He always knew when to stop playing.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the point I want to make is that illustrates the difference between what a film director, what skills are required of a film director versus what skills are required of a band leader.
Yeah.
Because when you're jamming with other musicians, you can just expect them to follow along. I think Bob's attitude is play what you feel like you should play, and I'll tell you if it's wrong. And if and if I like it, I won't say anything.
Yeah.
Like let's just let's just jam, and I hopefully I'll
I
like
feel
what you
like
do.
that's a metaphor for something larger in life, also.
But Kate, let me tell you, as a director myself, you cannot do that on a film set because filmmaking is all about explicitly telling people what you need them to do. Otherwise, they're just going to stand around. They're not going to do anything.
Right.
They're waiting for you to tell them what to do. So you really have to manage the expectations of your collaborators. I mean, a film shoot usually has a schedule with a beginning and an end, and you have to be efficient. You
Right.
have to be, you got to move quickly and smoothly. And so that watching that interview with Bob and Martha Quinn kind of sparked the whole idea for the book because I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to write about Bob Dylan as a filmmaker and how after Ronaldo and Clara, he he didn't want to direct, but he did want to continue making films. He did want to use the film medium to kind of comment on his own legacy, to kind of author his own
Yeah.
legacy. So he looked for people he could collaborate with who could do the hard work of directing while he himself would kind of be an invisible co-author
Yeah.
of them. And that's what Masked and Anonymous is. I mean, it's, Larry Charles is the director, but Dylan is really the co-author of the film.
Well, he
And
started with, like his little scraps of paper, right? And Larry Charles said he could never take them home with him. They just had to look
right.
at them together. And then Bob was like, they're staying here with me,
That's right.
kind of thing.
This is what happens when you go to the Bob Dylan archives. You can't take a photo of anything. You can't have your phone out. You
Yeah.
can look at the manuscripts and you can transcribe with a pencil.
Right.
That's the only one thing you're allowed to have. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's fair.
so, so yeah, I do think it's possible he'll continue to make films in some capacity. Like I thought Shadow Kingdom was just really beautiful to look at and really I think it's a really fun watch. I don't know if you were one of the people who was disappointed that it ended up not being live. A lot of people felt like Bob kind of hoodwinked us
I
by
wasn't disappointed that it wasn't live. No.
yeah
I
yeah because you know Bob well enough. It's kind of
yeah.
it's typical yeah what he did,
Yeah.
but you know I consider that to be a movie. So
Yeah. I would consider it more a movie than a performance film
yeah
or play. It's kind of almost like a play, sort of
right.
to me. I don't know. I only watched it once. I never watched it again. So I should
Oh
watch
wow,
it
yeah, it's a good watch. It's a
again.
good watch. So yeah, please, Bob, make another movie while
Yeah.
you still can.
We're ready. We're ready for one. We want to know. Talk more about your book. Everything more about your book in general.
So the way that it's structured is the first three chapters are devoted to the three films that I consider Bob Dylan to be the primary author of. So that's Eat the Document, Ronaldo and Clara, and Masked and Anonymous. And each one of those chapters is pretty detailed. I go into the background of how the film was made, like what the circumstances were leading up to it, and then I offer an analysis of the film itself. And then there's also a kind of post mortem where I talk about what the reaction to the movie was when it came out, and then how that has evolved over time. And the fun thing about writing this book was I wasn't like writing it in a linear way. I would jump back and forth between all of those chapters. So that kind of allowed me to put a lot of to kind of put a lot of internal rhymes in the book. Like I used the phrase "one can only hope" in each of the first three chapters, basically talking about one can only hope that Bob Dylan will someday release this film so we can see it in restored quality, because the kind of great sadness of being a fan of Dylan's filmmaking work is that you cannot see Eat the Document officially. You can watch poor quality bootlegs.
Yeah.
I know a lot of fans who've never even seen it,
Right.
because I think they might watch a little bit of it on the internet, and they just don't want to see something in such poor quality. Same with Ronaldo and Clara. It's not every version of that you can watch is based on you know uh, a videotaped version of a television screening in the UK in 1983.
Yeah.
So the quality is bad. And then Masked and Anonymous, of course, the quality is great, but we're still not seeing the film that Larry Charles made. You and I saw a longer cut at Sundance, but his preferred cut is supposedly somewhere between 3 and 3.5 hours. And Larry Charles has a version of that on VHS in his house. Um, but that's,
You got to get one.
I know, right? Like, we got to go over there and watch it.
Yeah. Tell him to invite us over. I want to see it.
I should slide into his DMs on Twitter.
You
Um,
should.
but it seems to me like someday that will be released. Um,
One can
and
only hope.
I think one can only hope. I think Eat
Well,
the
I think
Document.
there's like an issue of also in respect to that, you know, those things are past for Bob, that's the past.
Right. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he's like,
He's
I
like,
don't know.
oh,
That doesn't relate to now. I'm not that person anymore. That's later. But hopefully
right.
someone will later want to bring it back out for us to.
I'm sure. I think it's all going to be released at some point.
We'll see. I don't
We'll
know.
we'll
I'm
see.
not sure how all of that, how things are going to go down in the future with all of that stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. Well, the other interesting thing about Eat the Document and Ronaldo and Clara kind of being suppressed is that he did, repurpose footage from those films for
Mhm.
the two Scorsese documentaries, which I also write about in the book. No Direction Home from 2005 really cannibalizes Eat the Document. And then Rolling Thunder Review does the same thing to Ronaldo and Clara. It's almost like I think Dylan and or Jeff Rosen kind of said, we have this footage. How can we, uh, you know, repurpose it? And I love those Scorsese documentaries,
Yeah.
but I think it would be a shame if people didn't have the chance to also see the original films in restored quality. And honestly, that's the whole reason why I wrote the book. It's like these films deserve to be seen. And in my opinion, they deserve to be reevaluated.
Yeah.
But that's only going to happen if they're released in good quality. I
Yeah.
mean, when No Direction Home came out, it was just I remember it was shocking to see that 66 footage in good quality for the
Yeah.
first. The colors were vibrant and the images sharp, and just the raw power of 24-year-old Bob Dylan playing like a Rolling Stone
Yeah.
uh, with the Hawks. I mean, it's unbelievable. Um, and the same thing with Rolling Thunder 75. I mean, that footage in the Scorsese film, it was it was astonishing to see that footage in good quality. So if we had the opportunity to see Ronaldo and Clara and Meet the Document in the same quality, some people are always going to just not be interested in that stuff.
Yeah.
They're going to say these movies are too weird,
Yeah.
but a lot of people, I think, would reevaluate these films, and I
Yeah.
think the general critical consensus would go way up if
Yeah.
we saw them in good quality.
Yeah. It's a shame that they're so hard to watch and but maybe.
Maybe someday. And then, so the last chapter of my book, the fourth chapter, I kind of smashed together a bunch of different films. I talk about Rolling Thunder Review. I talk about Shadow Kingdom, and I talk about A Complete Unknown, in the sense that these are all films that Dylan, you know, that were influenced by the input that he gave
Yeah.
into the film. Um, so yeah, it's pretty up to date. I even talk about his Farm Aid appearance last year
Okay.
when we were like at the very final round of copy editing. Dylan just played Farm Aid, and I wrote my publishers and I was like, guys, Dylan just played Farm Aid last night. Can you just throw this paragraph into the final chapter, because I want to talk about it. So
Nice.
so yeah, there's also like an appendix after that chapter where I talk about it. It kind of gives a filmography of Dylan, and I talk about all of his most notable film, television, and internet appearances.
Yeah. Cool.
Going right up Farm Aid 25.
You're inspiring me. I'm gonna have to watch Hearts of Fire again.
Yeah,
Or
it's bad.
it is, but it still has a place in my heart as a snapshot of Bob at that time, which, was kind of hard to come by sometimes.
That's very true. Mid
Andy,
1980s.
yeah.
Well,
I,
I should say I don't really talk about Hearts of Fire or Pat Garrett or Don't Look Back, and those are probably the films that he's done that have been written about the most,
Yeah, of course.
because he acted in Hearts of Fire and Pat Garrett, and then of course he was the subject of Don't Look Back. But I feel like enough has been written about those films, and also I don't really think he is the author of those films
No, no,
the
no.
way he is the ones I read about.
Yeah, but I want to review his acting in Hearts of Fire compared
Absolutely.
to
Well, here's what I think. I mean, we talked about his acting in Masked and Anonymous. I mean, he's always compulsively watchable.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he's just fascinating. Like, I remember when I watched Hearts of Fire for the first time, whenever he was not on screen, I just was wanting him to be back on screen because I just wanted to look at him and
yes.
hear him talk. And it's like he's just fascinating. Like, he looks different from every angle. Um, and the way he says things, the way he talks about the Nobel Prize, it's
Mhm.
just unbelievable. So even though the film is not good, his charisma makes it watchable.
Yes. And just getting to hear him talk is, forget films and whatever else, just hearing his manner of speech and getting to just listen to him because you don't really. I remember when the Rome interviews came out, and it was like, oh, we can just listen to him like talking, like modern Bob actually talking. This is great. Like
Right.
not singing, not doing that, just talking because he is very interesting to just listen to. But yeah, well, sweet man. I'm
Well,
excited.
I think we covered just about everything.
We covered a lot. I mean, there's always more to cover with Bob, but I think we did pretty good. I'm excited for you to get your book out. When's the actual release date?
So the release date is March 2nd, which is a Monday, and there will be a book release party here in Chicago the following day, Tuesday, March 3rd. There will be a screening of Masked and Anonymous on 35 millimeter at the Music Box Theater right here in Chicago. Very rare screening on film, and I'm really, really lucky that they agreed that this theater, which is a really great old movie palace, they agreed to screen the film, and I'm going to introduce it by reading like a little excerpt from the Masked and Anonymous
I'll have
chapter, and
to
then
come for
afterwards,
that.
you
That
should come. You should come
sounds
to
really
Chicago.
fun.
You should come.
Yeah.
And then I'll be signing copies and selling them in the lounge afterwards.
Okay. If people can't
So
make it to any of that, where are they going to be able to get your book?
They can get it online. Of course, it's on Amazon. Or if you want an ethical alternative to Amazon, there's a great website called bookshop.org, where you can order it. And that's a site that actually benefits independently owned bookstores.
Right.
So, so bookshop.org is what I would recommend.
And
And there
you
are
can have it
links
for
to,
pre-sale now?
yes, you can pre-order it right now.
Okay. And where are the links listed?
You can go to my website, which is michaelgloversmith.com.
Okay.
And there's a page devoted to books, and the links are there.
Okay. We will link to that as well so people can find it easily. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
Well, I appreciate you agreeing to do this, and I hope to see you on the road. It's always a joy to see you and talk to you.
I know we need to get together more often. We
We
were,
do, especially since we're both kind of in the Midwest.
yeah, we're not that far from each other.
Not that far apart. So I hope to see you in Rockford. I think you should come.
We'll see how it all plays out. Might happen, might not. Anyway, thank you so much. I will
Thank
talk
you.
to you soon.
Okay. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye bye.